so much. I have this mic right here. Can everybody hear me? Fantastic. Don't need to adjust your sets. I am from the South, as you heard, so I do have a nice little twang there. I've also had a cold, so I'm so sorry I also sound a little bit stuffed up. I'm not contagious, don't worry. So I will be talking to you guys today about the contradictions and complexities and confusion of nutrition. That's a lot of big words for basically saying there's a lot of stuff out there. You ever Google some stuff about nutrition? You come up with 10,000 things. This says one thing, this says another, this says do this. You go see your medical professional and even you get different things from them. My nurse said this, my doctor said this, my dietitian said this. What is right? What is wrong? Hopefully I'm going to clear some of that up for you guys today. So I came across this cartoon. I thought it was hilarious. I just died laughing literally out loud when it says, "I'm confused. Does the red label mean there's a severe risk of terrorist attacks or to eat more fruit?" It's very confusing. Who's ever been confused by this food pyramid? It is confusing. I had a nice, lovely lunch with some ladies, and we were talking about how confusing just the food label was. Who gets confused by that one? Me. I have a master's in this. I get confused by it. There's so much out there. So since there's so much out there, I'm only going to go over a couple of things today because we do have a limited time, so I can't clear up everything for you. So I'm going to go through the basic contradictions and confusion of just some basic nutrition myths. Now, some of this is going to seem pretty easy to you guys, and some of this will be stuff hopefully you've wanted to know the answer for forever. I wanted to play a little game with you. This was supposed to be the Family Feud. I had the nice little introduction and song and could dance for you. Unfortunately, it's just not pulling up. So we will skip ahead. So I wanted to know from you guys, what are some top dieting myths? What are some things maybe you've heard about? Also, by the way, I'm a little interactive. I want you guys to tell me some things, so it's okay to shout some stuff out. Do what? Calories don't count. What else have you guys heard? All carbs are bad. That's another one.
Nothing white.
Nothing white.
Yeah. All fat is bad.
All fat is bad. See, there's tons of them out there. I could probably spend this entire weekend going over each one of these. But who's got that kind of time, right? I mean, there's so many other things happening. So I'm going to give you some head starts. Who's heard this one? Eat breakfast. Or I'm supposed to eat lots during the day, not just 1 or 2 meals, but lots of times during the day. Or snacks, good, bad. My doctor says do it, my dietitian says don't. What am I supposed to do? Certain foods make you gain weight or lose weight. Who's heard that one? Stay away from what? What's a big one? Gluten, bananas. Those poor bananas, they got such a bad reputation, right? I'm gonna get there. All right, you're not eating enough protein. Here's another one. My trainer says eat more. I don't know how much to eat. So much out there. And then finally, no eating at night. You've heard that one, right? I'm going to go through some of these and kind of clear up a little bit for you to show you some research that's out there, what we can really go by, what's sound. I'm also going to tell you, you need to do what you feel is right. So let's start with this breakfast one. We've heard these kind of phrases before. Eat like a king at breakfast and a prince at lunch and a pauper by dinner. Who's heard that one? Yeah, okay, good. I wasn't making that up. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You heard that one too? And then some people say eating breakfast will speed up your metabolism. You guys believe any of this stuff? Yes. Yeah, you do? Well, the research is actually inconclusive. Oh my God, I just made it worse for you. So here's the thing. I looked through a bunch of research and I came across about 43 research articles just looking at breakfast alone. 43 different places in the United States have research should we have breakfast. All of them inconclusive. So randomized control studies show that the outcome of eating breakfast showed no effect on weight. However, observational studies said that people who eat breakfast has been associated with a lower body weight. In all of these 43 studies, the one thing that was conclusive, in almost every study they said it does impact children and adolescents. In almost every study I came across, it said that eating breakfast may offer some protection towards children and adolescents between gaining weight or becoming unhealthy later in life. So who in here has kids? I always say, what would you do if you found out that your kids were not eating breakfast? You'd be kind of unhappy, wouldn't you? You are no different than your kids. You need to take care of yourself just as you take care of them. So when you look at some of these controversial things, some studies said it doesn't have any impact, some studies say it impacts your health later in life. we look a little bit lower. Before you start eating breakfast altogether, let's look a little bit deeper into that. Skipping breakfast may actually just be an indicator of lifestyle. Some of these studies also said that skipping breakfast may lead to an increased ghrelin production. Who's heard of that hormone, ghrelin? So just to simplify it, we have these hormones that say, I'm hungry, feed me. And that's one of them. So it's saying maybe skipping breakfast might make us hungrier later. It can also lead to impaired insulin and glucose responses. So what does that mean? That's a bunch of fancy scientific language. Who in here has ever skipped breakfast and then been hungrier later in the day? I sure have. Who in here has maybe eaten breakfast and not been so hungry come lunchtime? Yeah. So really, this is what it boils down to. When earlier I was saying those observational studies are what we can see. I can see with my patients that when they're eating breakfast, they tend to eat a little bit less during the day. They're not as hungry come lunchtime. They're not as hungry come dinner time. Has anybody ever felt that way? You just said yes. So it also depends on what you eat for breakfast. So I'm not going to go out and tell you, let's go to Starbucks and grab a muffin. How many calories are in that muffin? A lot. 800 if you have two of them. Average muffin at Starbucks is about 350 to 400 calories. And who's ever had a muffin and thought, so full now? I have not. So it really depends on you. It depends on what you are choosing for breakfast. Am I having something like a muffin or cereal? And these studies I was telling you that I looked at, there has been a relationship between eating cereal for breakfast and increased weight. What? You just told me to eat breakfast. Why do you think cereal would lead to an increased weight? What kind of cereal? Size of your bowl. Who looks at their food labels on cereal and has seen that a serving size of cereal is 3/4 of a cup to 1 whole cup? Who eats that? Most of us are eating 2 or 3 times that amount. And cereal is not really that filling. So when we talk about cereal leading to an increase in weight, it's because we're basically eating too much of it. Fruity Pebbles, for example, you can eat the entire box. Kashi cereal, maybe not, because it's a little bit more filling and heartier. So it depends on what you are doing. I've also had plenty of people who say, I just don't want to eat breakfast, but it doesn't impact me later in the day. Looking at these studies, we can see, okay, it's what works for you. So the clinical trials have shown no impact, but observationally, what we can see as providers is, I know that when I have a good, healthy breakfast, maybe consisting of some lean protein, some fruits and veggies, I tend to eat a little bit less during the day. So that's your takeaway about breakfast. So when people say you have to eat breakfast, you can say, well, I do pretty good the rest of the day. Or you know what, you're right, I should eat breakfast because I don't eat so great the rest of the day. It's a little bit individual. That kind of leads to the rest of the meals. What if I'm skipping lunch? What if I'm skipping dinner? We kind of have seen the same thing with any kind of meal skippage. So when it talked about my insulin levels may go up and my glucose may go down, it tends to happen when we overeat later. I know if I skip lunch, come dinner time, everybody needs to move because I'm so hungry. But when I eat consistently 3 to 6 meals a day, I tend to not be so hungry. So you've heard of this, my trainer says eat 6 times a day, my doctor says I don't have to eat that much, my friend only eats 2 times a day. We've actually seen that greater meal frequency is associated with a healthier body weight, especially with children. Once again, 3 or more regular meals a day may be useful in giving them some protective health benefits later in life. There was a study conducted with the National Health and Nutrition Examination. It was an ongoing study for many years. And they found that even after this study, 8 years follow-up, they didn't really see any relationship between eating frequently during the day and having an unhealthy or body weight or an increased weight gain. Once again, it depends on you. So we look at what's frequency. Is it 3 meals a day? Is it 6 meals a day? That's what it is. It's 3 to 6 meals a day. You can break that up how you want to. I can have 3 smaller meals and a couple of snacks in between. I can have 6 small meals a day. Depends on you, your lifestyle, what you need to fuel yourself. If I'm working out a whole lot, maybe I need a little bit more. If I'm sedentary, maybe I need a little bit less. So we have seen that in young adults and people over the age of 60, eating more than 6 times a day leads to weight gain. So why would that be? Why is 6 our limit? What do you guys think? You're taking in more food, basically. You had your hand up over there.
I was thinking that maybe like that's just enough to keep your metabolism going.
Maybe that's enough to keep your metabolism going, is what she said. But we've seen that when I'm taking in more than 6 meals a day, we call that a grazing behavior. I'm kind of eating all day long. I'm never really hungry and I'm never really full. So I tend to take in a little bit more calories. So looking at your 6 small meals a day, that can be broken up in multiple times in the day. Or I can do 3 meals and snacks. It depends on you. Overall, what we're looking at is your total calorie intake for the day. So that's where our weight gain is really coming from. If I take in too many calories, I'm going to gain weight. So a couple of other studies, like I said, it's important to clarify the weight and the factors associated. And I was just telling you the factors associated. If I eat infrequently, am I more hungry? We've seen that people who eat more than 3 meals a day could have little impact, but we do know that people who eat less than 3 meals a day are having some unhealthy weight. Observationally, I have not seen a patient yet who is eating 1 to 2 meals a day and having a healthy body weight. So I eat 1 or 2 meals a day, could be very large meals. I only eat 1 time a day, but it's a double Big Mac and a double French fry and a large soda. Or I only eat 1 time a day because I'm starving. So I have not seen anyone who's eating 1 or 2 times a day and having a healthy body weight. And that's exactly what we found. There's some researchers here by Lady and Campbell. I have at the bottom their article here. They have seen that people eating less than 3 meals a day do have an increased appetite and do tend to eat more later in the day. So whether it's 3 meals a day and some snacks, or whether it's 6 small meals a day, we have seen in literature 3 to 6 times a day, you'd be okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So snacks, I'm just talking about it. We've heard so many different things. A lot of people say, oh, more snacks, you need bigger slacks. There's actually no association between snacking and increased weight. So my grandmother used to always say, like, you cannot snack between meals, only 3 meals a day. Anytime you snack, you're going to gain weight. We've seen in research no association at all, even in children and adolescents. One step further. It depends on what you're snacking on. It's really funny because in these research articles I'm looking up, every single one said, define snacks. Is it a meal? Is it potato chips? Is it a piece of fruit? So it's very controversial even in that literature. I'm going to tell you the same thing. It's up to you. I find that if I go between lunch and dinner with no snack, come dinner, I would like to eat my hand off. Maybe for you, lunch is a little bit later and dinner is a little bit earlier and you don't need a snack. All depends on what snack you're eating. Am I going for potato chips, which are really high calorie and not very filling? So those 10 to 12 chips I ate kind of make me want to eat more and more and more, and then I just take in too many calories. Or am I eating like a piece of fruit or some yogurt that's a little bit more satisfying? It can kind of hold me off till dinner. So this is a relationship with snacks. It depends on what snack it is. And we have seen through studies that lower frequency of snacking is associated with weight gain. It's kind of not what we think, what your grandmother used to say. If you snack, you're going to have weight. But now we've actually seen that not snacking can lead to increased weight for the reasons I was just telling you. I'm going to eat a little bit more later on. So snacking can be okay. It just depends on you and your schedule and your overall calorie intake. All right, here's another one. You should not eat past 6 o'clock p.m. Why? What's the reason for that? Anybody know? Because you can't burn it off? Because Oprah says. Or Dr. Oz now? Anybody else? So gain weight, that's the number one thing I hear. I'm going to gain weight. Or people come to me and they say, I'm not losing weight and I know it's because I'm eating late at night. That food just instantly turns to fat. Or it's going to slow my metabolism down. So even when I Googled this and I said, what's the number one reasons? These are the 3 I kept coming across. So once again, what I'm talking about, there's so much conflicting information out there. I just kept hearing, you're going to gain weight if you eat late at night. The food's going to turn straight to fat. It's going to slow down your metabolism. Here's the truth. Food gets digested in your body at 8 o'clock at night the same way it does at 8 o'clock in the morning. Your body doesn't really know what time it is. It's going to get digested, broken down, stored, used, secreted, no matter what time it is. Think about people who live in European countries who eat later at night. Think about people who work the late night shift. I'm sorry, I'm on your way. So the truth is, what foods are you eating late at night? When is your activity during the day? Most people who are gaining weight from late night eating are usually having the higher calorie snacks at night, things like ice cream or chips, And we're not very active. Someone over here pointed it out. We're not very active at night. That's our TV watching time. That's our Jimmy Fallon crossword puzzle time. So we're not very active. However, there have been some recommendations to leave about 2 hours between eating and lying down. Not because it's going to change your metabolism, not because it's going to turn to fat, but because if I eat and lie down, chances are it's going to come back up on me, leading to acid reflux, leading to problems with digestion. This is not scientific. This is my own opinion. When I eat late at night and go to sleep, I have weird dreams. So I always tell people, avoid some weird dreams. But this is the only reason for not eating late at night. And I've had people who say, well, I stopped eating past 6 and I lost 5 pounds. Well, what kind of foods did you cut out? First of all, you cut out calories if you were usually typically snacking and now you're not. Second, I probably have cut out the Doritos or the late night ice cream. So those are the things we typically cut out. It's not that timing is magic, it's that we've cut out some excess food. All right, now we have come across this one already. Some people are yelling it out. There are certain foods that increase or decrease your metabolism. What are they? Celery. I think celery's on here. These poor bananas, I just feel so bad for them. Hot peppers, who's heard of that? Eat some spicy food, your metabolism goes up. Green tea, anybody else? Got some more ideas? Dairy foods, celery, there was our celery, and water. You heard about some of these? What do you think? Do you think these can actually speed your metabolism up? Who's tried it? Yeah, did it speed your metabolism up? You can't really tell. The only way to really know is to have your metabolism tested. But they're not. So your metabolism is regulated by very few things. Oh, vinegar, that was also one there, sorry about that. So here's that we all see this right on the internet. 5 foods to avoid. We hear bananas make you gain weight, or some fruits actually burn fat more. Very few things will change your metabolism. One is your genetics. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And unless you can figure out how to go back in time and change your genetics, you kind of have the metabolism right now that you're going to have. 2, lean muscle mass. The more lean muscle mass we have from muscle strengthening activities, from exercise, that can change your metabolism a little bit. There are very few medical conditions that impact your metabolism. Think about thyroid issues. There's a couple more, but they're very few. Another thing I came across is if you avoid these foods, your metabolism will speed up. If I avoid the unhealthy stuff. But really nothing's going to change your metabolism except changing your genetics or building more lean muscle. So eating these peppers, eating these foods, it's great. Think about if I fill up on peppers, how much junk food am I going to have room for? Think about if I'm noshing on celery all day long, your poor jaws are so tired of chewing, you don't want to eat anything else. So I kind of found a little bit of research on hot peppers. There's very, very little research out there, but some people have researched this. So some studies have shown a boost from hot peppers. It is a temporary effect, lasting only in the first hour after you eat. And it comes from the capsaicin, which is like the heat that's found in peppers, like we hear about the seeds being like the hottest. So that's where that capsaicin is found, and that's what is attributed to it. So the thought is that it increases your body temperature, it changes the heat production of your body. We've actually seen in research it doesn't really happen. So the study here by Schwartz, I've listed at the bottom, they actually gave patients 500 milligrams of cayenne, which is equal to about 3/4 of 1 cup of peppers. They gave it to them daily and found there was no evidence of fat oxidation or increase in metabolism. That's a lot of peppers you would have to eat. So if I think about these effects only lasting for about an hour after I eat, I have to eat a cup of peppers 24 hours a day. I don't have time for that. So we've actually seen really little evidence that there's any proof behind this one. So it's great, it makes your food taste great. Also think about, you ever heard of ghost peppers? Those habanero peppers? I mean, if you eat one of those, basically you won't be able to taste anything for 3 days, so that might decrease what you're gonna eat. Another one is vinegar. Who's heard this? If I drink vinegar, I'm gonna lose weight or it's gonna improve my blood glucose. So the thought behind vinegar is that it slows the absorption of carbohydrates, slows the passage of food through your stomach, which keeps you fuller for longer. This is actually just an old folk remedy. And I was actually very surprised by the research I found, because I've been telling people for years, have you ever drank vinegar? After you drink some vinegar, you don't want to touch anything else because your stomach's just blech. So that's what usually happens. But there have been a couple of studies that showed some outcomes. So at the bottom, once again, these are the studies if you want to look them up. They have seen in one study, compared with the placebo, the vinegar did raise insulin sensitivity in the hour following a meal, which means my body can process those carbohydrates and maybe use them a little bit more effectively. We also saw in another study that vinegar may possess effects similar to acarbose or metformin. So if anyone in here is on these medications, you know what they are. Acarbose is basically a medication that blocks the absorption of carbohydrates, while metformin helps to reduce the glucose in your body. So we have seen some reactions like this with vinegar. So the data show that it can improve your insulin sensitivity in insulin-resistant subjects. That's the key word, if I already have some issues. So my takeaway point from this is I don't want you going out and buying vinegar and starting to drink vinegar all day long, because these were 2 studies I came across. Very, very, very little sample population. Only 29 people were tested in one study, 12 people were tested in another. That's not a lot of people to gather a lot of data from. And they've only seen it in people who were already insulin resistant. I go back to my main staying point. If you've ever shot a glass of vinegar, you really are not hungry because your stomach is just feeling gross. So you tend to eat a little bit less after you drink that vinegar. But maybe this can give us some hope for the future. Maybe we can keep doing some studies. Maybe you guys want to go do some studies and find some new things out. So negative calories is another one. Celery takes more energy to burn than the calories that are in there. So if I eat more celery, I'll burn calories by eating celery. Who's heard that one? These negative calorie foods. Well, here's some basic math for you. It takes approximately 3 minutes of chewing to burn 1 calorie. That's really not fair, is it? An average apple is anywhere from 75 to 100 calories. So I would have to chew for 240 minutes, which is about 4 hours of chewing, to burn off the calories that are actually in that apple. Who can chew for that long? I don't even think cows can chew for that long. So there's really no truth behind the negative calorie food. All foods like this are going to have calories. Very little. I mean, how much is in celery? Very, very little calories. This apple, 75 to 100 calories. I'm always going to tell you to go for these foods because I get to eat more of them. They fill me up more compared to potato chips. But really, there's no truth behind the negative calorie myth that we've been hearing. All right, this protein one, we keep hearing more and more protein. Why do we need so much protein? Anybody want to take a guess? To build healthy muscles, absolutely. Why else? Keeps you full longer. Will you lose more weight? Will I gain weight? Keep my bones strong. Improve my sleep. Makes you feel full. Keeps my hair from falling out. So when I Googled, once again, I'm Googling stuff just to kind of see what all is out there. These are the top ones I came across as why we need more protein. Where I really run into this is when I see patients who are also working with a personal trainer. I think it's a great thing to do. But most trainers really emphasize protein. They tell their patients, you need more protein. You're not losing weight because you don't have enough protein. So there's a lot of contradictions out there about protein. Caveat, patients who have had bariatric surgery, patients who are on dialysis, there are lots of other medical complications why you would need more protein. So for the purpose of today, I'm just talking about an average diet, not specific protein needs. So the average person following a 2,000 calorie diet could use anywhere from 50 grams to 150 grams of protein. Just depends on you. Do I need more protein? Am I exercising frequently? Am I trying to be a bodybuilder? Am I on dialysis? Have I had bariatric surgery? So there's so many different variations. How you know your protein needs, go see your dietitian. We are trained in school to calculate that for you. But it all depends on you. So protein has calories in it, which means the more protein I eat, the more calories I am going to get in. So just by sitting back and saying, I'm not eating enough protein, I need to eat more and more and more, and trying to eat salmon and tuna and cottage cheese and stuff in your face, you're going to get more calories that way. 3-ounce chicken breast has 21 grams of protein. It's about 120 calories. When we hear about lean chicken breast is the healthiest one for you, it still has calories in there. However, someone in the back did point this out. I tend to feel a little bit more full. So what I like about protein, it's very satiating. It takes a while to break down in my stomach. So when I eat the 3-ounce chicken breast, I'm more satisfied than opposed to eating barbecue potato chips. So the protein takes a long time to break down. Just because you're eating more protein does not mean you're getting more muscle. Protein does not instantly turn into muscle. I have to work to get those muscles. I gotta work out, I gotta use them. That's where I'm building more muscle. So excess protein, it breaks down into amino acids and nitrogen. It's either stored or excreted. It does not just convert to muscles. And prior to exercise, your body actually needs protein and carbohydrates. So when I hear trainers telling people, no carbs, you should not have carbs, I'm thinking, you're not gonna get very far. Your muscles need carbs for energy. So prior to working out, you need both. You need those carbs for energy. So don't just eliminate carbs and go on a super high protein diet. You still have to watch your calories and you still have to watch your medical needs too. The more muscle I do have, the stronger my bones will stay. So protein does offer your bones some protective benefits there. And for anybody who's had bariatric surgery, you probably have heard, if you're not getting that protein, your hair may fall out. All right, so water, this is another one. Why should we drink so much water as I go to take a sip of my water? Anyone, why do we need so much water? Ooh, better complexion, feel more full, burns fat, or having some weight loss. Less wrinkles in my skin. Improve sleep. Oops, I missed a couple there. Oh, that's what those for. So drinking water during the meals makes you lose weight. This is a popular one. Even as dietitians will tell people, drink some water before you eat, you'll feel more full. It's not that water magically burns more. It's that you feel more full off of it. We have seen some people report, I drank more water and my complexion got better. There's really not a lot of research or medical studies out there to say this is in fact a result of drinking more water. However, drinking more water before that meal has been shown to decrease your intake. Who's done it? Who sat down at a restaurant and drank a big glass of water and then you're not as hungry? Yeah, that's really what's going on. You start to get a little bit full so you don't feel as hungry. I love this too. There is consistent research that whether that beverage is water or a non-nutritive sweetener, such as Crystal Light, the impact is the same. I start to feel more full, so I tend to take a little bit less food in. There were different findings, however, when water is replaced with juice or milk. Yes, I'm taking in liquid, but I'm also taking in more calories. So with replacing water with something that has calories in there, we do not see that weight loss effect because I'm taking in more calories. All right, so what can you believe? So these are the highlights of a fad diet. Any claim that's too good to be true. Lose 10 pounds in 5 days. Any claim that promises quick weight loss. Anything that's trying to sell a specific product. Elimination of an entire food group. Don't eat bananas. Why? Bananas are wonderful for you. And being realistic. Being realistic means if I skip breakfast, I'm going to overeat at lunch. Being realistic also means that if water was really shown to instantly lose weight, we would all be drinking a heck of a lot of water. Or if there's certain product was shown to make us lose weight or improve our health or improve our glucose, we would all be doing that. So always believe in your basic good nutrition. You should never eliminate any wholesome, healthy food group. So increasing those fruits and veggies, eating your whole grains, your low-fat dairy, your lean proteins. These are the hallmarks of a really healthful diet that I feel very full on that can also help my health. Calories do matter. That's where your weight comes in, is by looking at calories, and your portions matter. So the things we've kind of gone through, we're just to kind of talk about how can I decrease those calories. If I eat breakfast, I may not eat as much at lunch. If I'm drinking some water before I eat, I may not eat as large of a portion. So these are the things you can always believe. So anytime you hear something that seems too good to be true, we're going to know it probably is. All right, we got about 9 minutes left for questions. I was trying to leave that for you because I know this was kind of simplistic and kind of just touching on a few hallmarks, and we didn't really get into depth too much. So any questions so far? Anything that I did not answer for you guys? Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so you were talking about the carbs and the protein before you exercise. That's where I get really confused because they'll say, well, have 30% carbs and so much percent protein. I'm like, how do I figure that out? I don't understand what's the best thing to have, like a pre-workout. I know post-workout is a protein shake, but if not, I get really confused with pre.
So for those of you who didn't hear her, she said it's really confusing before you work out. We've heard the whole carb and protein thing, but it says 30% carbs and this percent protein, and it gets really hard to kind of calculate it out. I'm not going to lie, it's hard for me to calculate it out. When I sit down and I'm trying to plan something for someone's meal, I have to sit and calculate it. It takes a while. So let's be simplistic with it. I know I need a little bit of carb. I know I need a little bit of protein. I also know if I eat a large portion before I go work out, I'm probably not going to feel so good. So right there I know I need to have something small. So what is small that encompasses both carbs and protein? I don't want to focus on the percentages because that can get a little bit too much. Let's just focus on having a small snack that contains both carb and protein. Something like an apple with 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, a half a turkey sandwich, something like that. Dairy can work. Dairy can also make you feel a little bit not so great. You should be eating about an hour before you work out to kind of give it to some digestion. But I've had people who have had dairy before and not really felt so great during the activity. Anybody else have suggestions on what they do beforehand? Mm-hmm. A whole grain rice cake? Did you put any protein with that? Yeah, peanut butter and a rice cake. That's an excellent one. Yes?
It also depends on how long you're exercising.
Mm-hmm.
My trainer says if you're exercising for less than 60 minutes, you really don't need that pre-exercise. You need the post one.
Mm-hmm.
If it's more than 60 minutes or you're really vigorous in your exercise session.
So this is a great point for you guys who didn't hear her. She said it depends on how long you're exercising for. And her trainer told her that if you're exercising only for 60 minutes, you don't really need a snack, but longer than 60 minutes, you do need one. I'm going to agree and disagree with that one. I'm going to say it depends on you. Did I exercise? I mean, has it been like 11 o'clock since I had lunch and now it's 5 o'clock and I'm going to work out? Maybe I need a little snack to boost me through. But you're exactly right on the 60-minute thing. So the exercise guidelines have actually shown that when you exercise longer than 60 minutes, you actually need more. So I would say if you can work out and you don't need a snack because it hasn't been that long since lunch or breakfast or whatever, maybe you don't need it. If you find that you're going to work out and you're having trouble making it through, you feel very lethargic, you're not putting forth your best effort, maybe having a snack in there could help you. I always say try it out. Have a snack, see how you feel. Don't have a snack, see how you feel. See which one's going to work better for you. Yes?
I've heard that cheese is a fat man's candy. Is that true?
Did y'all hear what she said? I love that. I'm going to steal that. She said she's heard that cheese is the fat man's candy. Is it true or not? I love that. I do get some great health benefits from cheese. I'm going to get some calcium. I'm going to get some protein. I'm also going to get some fat from there. So looking at that statement, cheese is a fat man's candy, what do you guys think? Yeah.
I've lost 50 pounds by starting to eat full-fat cheese.
Okay, she lost weight by starting to eat full-fat cheese. And you had something? Did anybody else?
I just wonder what kind of cheese.
What kind of cheese? These are excellent points right here. What kind of cheese? So if I'm going to eat the full-fat cheese, I'm going to have more calories. However, maybe I feel more full and don't want to eat more later. It also depends on how much you do. One cheese stick can be anywhere from 50 calories to 100 calories. So if I have one cheese stick, not a big deal. If I have 6 or 7 cheese sticks, we have a problem. And that's where the fat man's candy that you just were mentioning came into play. So cheese can be very addictive. It's nice and salty. It's so tasty, especially with some crackers, and that's why we tend to overeat it. If you can control your portion, if you're choosing a lower fat type of cheese, you can actually have control over that. It depends on you and your choices. Does that make sense? Okay. Other questions? Oh, yes, ma'am.
You really feel that the only difference, the benefit of water instead of juice, that the only difference, there's no benefit, it's just calories?
The benefits, so she's asking about water versus juice. What are the benefits? Is it just calories? What kind of benefits do you guys think of with juice? Insulin resistance. Any benefits, though? Thirst and hunger can be confused. So when we look at juice, we often think about it's got so many vitamins and minerals. And it does. So you are going to get some benefit. You're going to get some great vitamin C when you have juice. Once again, it depends on you. I personally don't want to have juice because I don't want the calories. I'd rather eat a piece of fruit. A large piece of fruit is about 100 calories, like that apple. 1 cup of juice, whether it's apple juice, orange juice, grape juice, is about 120 calories. So I feel more full when I eat the fruit versus the juice. Other people may have different opinions. If you can control your juice intake and you're not overdoing your calories, you're not overdoing your portions, it's not impacting your glucose, then juice can still be a part of a healthful diet, absolutely. It is healthy for you, absolutely. Sure, that water is the wonder drug, and we should be having 6 to 8 cups a day. This is a general recommendation for staying hydrated. The 64 ounces of water that we hear about, not a lot of research basis on that. It's just a recommendation for staying hydrated. Some people need more, some people need less. Fluids are going to keep you hydrated. So once again, if I can bring that juice in there and I can control my portions, absolutely it can be a part of a healthful diet. So just drinking more water tends to fill us up, but it's not like a wonder drug. It just keeps you hydrated. We can definitely talk about that a little bit more afterwards if you have some more questions. I know there's some questions in the back too.
Is 6 to 8 ounces of water, or 6 to 8 glasses of water, or 6 to 8 glasses of fluid?
6 to 8 glasses of fluid. In the back, yes.
What's your opinion on the fact that people may metabolize food differently, like even whole grains? Somebody who has a propensity for obesity, hold on to that more or use it for energy more?
Excuse me, so if you didn't hear her, she said, what is it with people metabolizing food differently? Some people who may be insulin resistant holding on to whole grains more. There is some research about that. So we do know that people who maybe are insulin resistant, they do process those carbohydrates a little bit more slowly. So there are some people with different medical situations, like we were talking about earlier, that can metabolize foods a little bit differently. And there are some real medical issues where people can't have things like gluten for people who have celiac disease, or people can't even have like the artificial sweeteners for like children who have PKU, for example. So everybody's a little bit different. But you're exactly right. There are some people who metabolize foods a little bit different. How you would know that is you need to see your doctor.
It just seems like that when you cut back on your breads, whether they be whole grain, the rices, brown rice, when you cut back on the foods, not give them up, but cut back, it seems like people are more prone to dropping some weight.
To losing some weight. So once again, an observational thing. That's an excellent observation. When people cut back on their breads or their rices, not eliminating them, but just cutting back on their portions, they tend to lose a little bit more weight. Breads and rice and pasta are calorie bombs. So you guys ever look up how much calories are in these? An average slice of bread can be anywhere from 100 to 180 calories. I tend to go for the lower calorie one. A cup of pasta or a cup of rice is 200 calories. Most of us are not eating 1 cup of pasta or a cup of rice. I go to an average Italian restaurant, I'm getting 3 or 4 cups of pasta. That's easily 800 calories before I put noodles or anything, a sauce or anything on it. So typically when I see people cutting back on that, a couple of things are happening. They're cutting out calories. 2, they're replacing it with lower calorie foods. So when I encourage people to cut back on pasta, I'll say do 1 cup of pasta, but add 2-3 cups of veggies with it. They're very low calorie foods. So that's usually what's happening with the bread and the carbohydrate cutout. So I'm usually cutting out a lot of calories. And then I've had people I'm cutting out carbs. Well, now I'm cutting out the crappy ones too. I'm cutting out the afternoon cookie, or I'm cutting out the scone at Starbucks every now and then. So I tend to see it's more of a calorie decrease. There was one more question back here in the corner. Anybody else? All right, I think that, I only have 15 seconds left. So nice in. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to hang around a little bit, so if you have more questions or if you want to talk about it a little bit more specifically, absolutely can. I'm also never going to tell you that you have to eliminate a food. I'm never going to tell you that you have to bring in a food. There's no good foods, there's no bad foods. It's all about how you choose to eat it, your portions, when you're eating it, what's helping you in your diet. All right? Thank you guys so much.